It's time for the Brew and Shavers Sports Podcast.
Now that we are in between seasons, we're waiting for college football season to start again. We recently finished college basketball season. We thought we'd do a ranking of the top 5 SEC coaches, both in men's basketball and in football. And so joining Darren and I tonight are Zach, down wearing the, I think that's an OU jersey, or OU shirt. Yep, Boomer Sooner. And we have Brandon, who recently on the show, big Tennessee fan, sporting the Titans shirt. Well, let's jump right in and make some rankings here on SEC coaches, and we'll go ahead and start with basketball. Darren and Brandon, you guys are going to do the basketball portion tonight. And top 5 coaches, you guys want to go from start at 5 and work your way up to 1, or start with 1 and go down to 5? And Zach and I will pipe in and tell you where you're wrong.
All right.
Go ahead, Brandon. Give us 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay. Number 5, I was really torn between Buzz Williams from Mississippi State and the new guy, one of the new guys, Moser out of Oklahoma, where I was really torn between who I wanted to put at 5 there. And
wait a second, isn't Buzz Williams at
A&M?
A&M. Sorry. Yeah. And but yeah, I was really torn between those. Buzz has significantly more tournament appearances than Moser, but I think I gave the edge to Moser, so I'm sticking with Moser at number 5 just because of he's been pretty successful at Oklahoma. 54-45 overall record. It's not the greatest, but I think they're kind of. I think they've been down. They've been down in basketball, but I think they're going to. I think this upcoming season is a little bit more hopeful. So that's why he went over the edge for me at number 5.
Zach, you were shaking your head. You're the resident OU fan.
Yeah.
So what do you think about Brandon's analysis there?
I think the OU fans would be somewhat surprised that Porter Moser is kind of getting in a top 5 ballot right now. It's just mainly because, I guess, coming from the Big 12, it's pretty tough schedule and playing against teams, but also for the fact that recruiting wise, it's been hard for him to get his guys. He's missed a lot during the portal run. And so along that with kind of like how I know the football standard's high with your facilities, but the basketball would almost be on the opposite end of having a stadium that's been around for a very, very long time. So it's kind of been the opposite view from the Oklahoma standpoint of not feeling too good with Porter Moser right now.
Yeah.
So seeing it from a SEC fan standpoint, it kind of brings it up a little bit and be like, oh, maybe I'm just overreacting right now.
Yeah, and with the change of conference too, I think that's gonna help slightly, even though the SEC is tough still, but arguably the Big 12's the hardest conference in the country. So I mean, I don't know. That's what I thought. I mean,
you have to wonder what would have it been like if Sister Jean had come with them to OU.
Mm-hmm.
There's the missing piece of the puzzle right there.
I don't know how that wasn't in the contract.
Darren, who's your number 5?
I was to say, interestingly enough, we did not talk about these in advance at all. We wanted to kind of have the genuine conversation of reaction to who everybody's picks were. Coming in at number 5 for me from Oklahoma is Porter Moser. How's that?
Really?
Yeah.
I need to start. I just need to clip this video right here and just start sharing it across all the OU.
To me, I think the fact he's been at Oklahoma, 2 years?
Yeah, I think
so.
And as Brandon said,
he's been there 3 years.
Has he been there 3 years?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that hurts my argument a little bit. But as Brandon said, he's 54 and 45 is not really what you want to see in that first 3 years, but there's a track record there. He knows how to get to the tournament. I think, Zach, you're right. Some of the portal stuff, and if you look at some of the recruiting stuff, that's been a little difficult. But if he can get that worked out, the ability to win, to put together a game plan, to get guys where they need to be, to do things in the right moment, he's demonstrated that record over the process of his career. So for me, there's a little bit of the belief that if you just get a couple of things to kind of work in your direction, you can start to turn that corner. The fourth year will be very pivotal. He might drop from 5 to 16 in a hurry, depending on how year 4 goes, because he might be on the way out the door. But I think there's still that track record there that gives you a little bit of belief that it can, because it's an established track record. He wasn't somewhere for 2 years, won a conference championship, and then all of a sudden was a Big 12 coach. There's an established track record of doing things on a big scale. So that to me was one of the kind of tipping points to put him at number 5.
All right, Brandon, how about your number 4?
Excuse me. Just coming off of recent success, I had to go with Nate Oates at Alabama, number 4. They had a great season this year, great run in the tournament, Final Four appearance. He's had 7 tournament appearances in his career. He was rumored for just about any open job that opened up after the tournament. He stuck with it at Alabama, stayed there. And I think they are a hot team right now. And they're only going to get better. I mean, I haven't necessarily looked at recruiting lately, but I'm sure it's going to help them that they made the Final Four. And, they've got a solid team, and he's a great coach. His record at Alabama is 117 and 54 in 5 years. I mean, that's great. I mean, he's only going to get better. So I had him at number 4. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, he's got a 213 and 97 career record. So I mean, This guy's a winner. He's a winner, and I think if you stay, he's been there 5 years, so that's a great time to establish his culture. He's got his guys there, and I mean, like I said, it's only going to get better from here, I think.
Well, let me go ahead and chime in before y'all comment. I'll add to everything Brandon just said. He's got 7 tournament appearances, 3 Sweet 16s, and that's why Nate Oates was my number 4.
Yeah, good.
How do you guys do this?
What are the odds of this? No kidding. Well, there you go. There's number 4. Here, Brandon, I'll get my number 3 next and see if yours matches. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So at number 3, I wavered a little bit on this one as well, but like Brandon's been talking about with his first couple, but I think you have to give credence to what Bruce Pearl has done and is doing in the SEC. When you look at the turnaround he put together, both Tennessee and Auburn, even though there's been a little bit of a fall off in that they underperform when the pressure's really, really on at Auburn, I still feel like, again, he's got 662 career wins, 345 of those are in the SEC, 13 tournament appearances, and 5 Sweet 16s. Those are big, big numbers. He's fun to watch. On top of that, when he's on the sidelines, unless he's playing your team, he's fun. He's fun to watch on the sidelines. And I don't think at 2 different schools you can really argue with the success he's found and what he's done in a pretty quick manner with both of those teams. And I think Tennessee fans would be honest in saying part of what they're experiencing now is kind of for the floor. Part of that is because of the floor that Bruce Pearl built for them. He brought the program up when he came to Knoxville. So to me, that puts Bruce Pearl at the number 3 coach in the conference.
Yeah. So my top 3 has kind of that theme of underperforming under pressure. But number 3 is Bruce Pearl. Yeah, it really is.
That is awesome.
that guy turned Tennessee around.
Oh yeah,
and really set the standard, and Tennessee basketball is a legit program now, and it wasn't before Bruce Pearl, and he really did a lot for Tennessee. I hate the way it ended with his tenure there, but he was trying in anyway, cheating but trying, but yeah, he really turned around. And then when he went to Auburn, honestly, I was like, what? Like, what is he going to do at Auburn? Like, he's just desperate for a job, But man, look at them now. Like that guy is a heck of a coach.
Yep.
He may have been desperate at the time.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, like he is a really, really good basketball coach. And not to mention, like you said, he's fun to watch. Like he's got a second career in broadcasting the day he retires from coaching.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, he is a personality. And I mean, I think he's a great guy. I wasn't, like I said, when he got fired at Tennessee, I wasn't a big fan of him for a while, but I've really grown to kind of respect him more recently. Good coach. Number 3, definitely number 3.
All right, let's move on to number two.
Go ahead, Brandon. I'll let you grab number 2.
Okay. All right. So, this may be a surprise or maybe not, but my number 2 is Calipari. Only because when you think of John Calipari, you think of national championships. But there's actually, like, I had to read it twice the other day. It's one. He's won one national championship.
Exactly.
Which is more than Rick Barnes by any means. But he's won one national championship and been to 6 or 7 Final Fours. Those aren't really great, percentages there. And I'm going to sound old school, but I don't like the one and done culture that he really started at Kentucky. I mean, he had a brand new team every year basically, and was successful with them, obviously. But I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of him personally. That's why I stuck him at number 2, for more personal reasons, really. But his winning he's got a winning record. He's been to a national championship. He's won. He's been to Final Fours. Great coach. I'm not sure how he is. His character is, but seems like a good guy, I guess. But I don't know. I just think that my number 1 is just a class act and is just a better overall coach than him.
All right, so I'll go ahead and give my number 2 and my number 1 because I'm pretty sure they're going to be similar but not exact. And then you can give your number 1. My number 2 is Rick Barnes, and I don't think you can argue of all active SEC coaches. He is one of only 2 coaches that has over 800 wins. 200 of those have been in the SEC, and he has 28 tournament appearances throughout the process of his career,
which is more than Calipari.
Exactly.
That was kind of my edge. One of my reasons too.
And to me, when you put them side by side, the reason Rick Barnes is 2, and for me, John Calipari is 1. Is when you look at has been able to win the national championship.
Yeah.
Calipari has twice as many wins in the SEC and has been able to win the national championship. So that's what puts Rick Barnes at 2 and John Calipari at 1 for me. I will be honest and tell you, I think Nate Oates over the next 3 to 5 years, if he stays at Alabama, can obliterate this list and be standing at the top of the heap going, look at me,
definitely,
without question. But right now, where they stand today, Rick Barnes 2, John Calipari 1. And Brandon, I'm assuming Rick Barnes is yours.
Yeah. Rick Barnes is number 1. Maybe a little biased there, but it's hard to argue with a national championship. It's facts. I mean, Calipari has a national championship, but the one of the biggest factors for me is it was just recent success. Kentucky has not been very good. They haven't been up to their standard the last really 3 seasons. Even though they did beat Tennessee this year, but we won't talk about that. But Rick Barnes has just steadily gotten better and better and better and better, and there's really no drop off. Like next year, they're probably, hopefully, going to be just as good as they were this year. And so, just if I look at just recent success, I think Barnes has the edge.
And I think that's a fair point.
All right, some great picks. Zach, any commentary on the top 5 from Darren and Brandon?
No, I think they're all great picks. I think I would kind of lean towards Brandon with going with Rick Barnes number 1 overall. But
Really?
That's kind of the only kind of opinion that I have on the top 5.
Yeah, I like the Rick Barnes pick as well. At Calipari, Barnes never had that level of talent that Calipari had year in and year
That's
out.
true.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, it's you could make a case, as you both did, for Calipari and Barnes at number 1. So great list, great picks. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Brew and Shaver Sports Podcast. It's fun to make these lists, Darren, and this is one of the great things about sports. Nobody is going to completely agree anytime you do any kind of rankings.
That's exactly right.
And that's the fun. We advocate for our teams, our coaches. We argue, we make our cases. And that's just a great thing about sports.
Yep. Agree 1,000%. That's what part of what makes it so fun is there you can have 4 people having the same conversation and see it 4 completely different ways, and everybody still enjoys the conversation. That's really awesome.
So we really want to hear from you. Who are your top 5?
In the comments.
In the comments. Be sure to hit that like button, that subscribe button, so you get notified anytime new episodes come out. Thank you again for listening, joining us on this journey. Y'all take care.
Have a great week. Thank you for making the Brew and Shaver Sports Podcast your go-to sports show. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review our show if you haven't already. Your feedback is important. Let us know what you think about this week's show. Send an email to brewandshavers@gmail.com or text to our text line, 318-390-3599. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you again for listening to the Brew and Shaver Sports Podcast. See you next week.